green Britain values are around tackling energy, transport and providing better sustainable food.
These topics have to be somehow brought down to a level that people can connect with.
We realised as well that there were lots of things you could do with these pulses.
We are trying to really grow the pie in terms of pulses being eaten in the UK and internationally. We're interacting with other associations. It's just really about encouraging people to eat more pulses and buy British and try and support your local source of pulsy goodness from people like me.
We wanted to close the loop and bring these British beans back into British kitchens. We quickly expanded our range to a wide variety of peas in particular that were being grown in the UK already. We realised that as well as eating the beans as whole beans and split beans and milling them for flour, we could also roast them, inspired by the Spanish habas fritas. And then this delightful image shows fermented beans. The very same beans fermented, working with a producer of miso, who would normally be using imported soya, is now using British grown fava beans, using a very similar process to production of miso, but fermenting the fava beans instead of the soybeans. Working with these pulses was the catalyst to then find farmers who either were already growing other crops but weren't finding their way into a wider market in the UK as they could, but also to work with farmers to start developing and trialling new crops. So this is a field of quinoa in Essex, where a farmer called Peter Fairs has been growing quinoa. We've also worked again with Peter Fairs, who's a fantastically innovative farmer, to get the first ever British grown chia into production. We dreamt of growing lentils even before we started working with beans, and we sort of dismissed it as unrealistic. We then met some German farmers who were growing lentils, and they said just sow some and see if they grow. So we did, and they did, and so we've had a few years harvest now of lentils and are scaling up production year on year. So what we hope to do through all of this that we're doing is increase the diversity of crops that can be grown and are grown on British farms, and therefore increase the diversity of our diets, and just encourage you to try some of these fantastic crops from British farms, all absolutely delicious as well as being nutritious, sustainable and supporting British farming.
I'm the founder of Vitality Hemp and also a founding member of the British Hemp Association. It really is important that we start to grow more hemp in the UK. You can use literally every part of the plant. I mean, you're looking at the leaves for tea, you can use the stalk for building materials, you can make plastic from the hemp. You can actually use hemp cellulose as an alternative to graphene in batteries. So it's really got a huge amount of uses. And then we get onto the nutrition. Obviously the seed itself is one of the most nutritionally sound products. It's a really rich source of protein, really fantastic crop to grow. We have to kind of really look at it in context, how hemp can be used as a tool to be seen as a public good and taken into community ownership. And it's very important to stress that fact. The United Nations have promoted hemp, the cultivation of hemp for developing countries as an opportunity for growth, as an environmental driver to reverse the impact of deforestation and desertification. So it's a really, really amazing crop in terms of the environmental benefits.
I'm from May Project Garden, which is a grassroots project in South London. And what we really focus on is reconnecting urban communities with nature. And for us, it's a lot about building a kind of personal connection to the issue, like making it enjoyable, creating like a kind of human connection to the subject. The way in which we kind of try to bring the subject to life is that we use creative arts primarily. So we use music, we use film, we use art. So probably one of the main examples of that is that we have a youth program called Hip Hop Garden. It basically allows young people to use a culture that they're familiar with to explore subjects around sustainability, veganism, etc. One example of this was in Brixton. Kind of went into the youth centre, a local kind of urban farm asked us if we would try and engage the young people in food growing and, you know, connecting with nature, which we sort of knew could be a pretty almost impossible task if you just went into a youth centre and said to them, like, eat vegan and grow food. And so we kind of, again, like, we went in and we first of all started by actually just cooking for them, cooking with them, making culturally appropriate food that they actually found exciting, that happened to be plant-based, and we didn't call it vegan and we didn't sort of speak about it in that way. And then we kind of brought in hip-hop elements where they actually had a go at, like, you know, writing lyrics about what they've just experienced. They learned to cook vegan food and they ran a pop-up cafe in their local neighbourhood. They sold the food, they made money for their youth centre, and then they made a sort of video about it. It is incredibly difficult for people who maybe can barely eat to talk to them about worrying about specifically maybe eating kind of plant-based or, you know, whatever that means to them. And again, showing people that it's something they can actually bring into their lives and that it doesn't have to mean sort of £1.50 sort of vegan snack bars and cheese made of cashews and things that they just can't really incorporate.
And so everything that we do at Ecotricity, where we can, we're promoting a vegan way of life. Back last year, we actually got the vegan trademark for our electricity, so we're the first energy company to do this. We also supply gas, green gas. Frack-free gas has been our mission for a number of years, so we are guaranteeing that our gas actually is frack-free and is only sourced from those sources that wouldn't allow that. So things are moving forward. The point of what we're doing is trying to change the way energy is produced and used in the UK. Now, there are some really interesting opportunities for farmers that might complement some of the things we'll be doing as we're thinking about what we can grow. We have, in the last couple of years, been building small windmills. That might look like a big one, but it actually is a small one. That's a 15 kilowatt windmill. We have a factory in Stroud, just outside Stroud, that is creating and producing these windmills, providing the opportunity for landowners to generate their own energy. The idea is that, again, people can become quite energy resilient, and actually this can be wired straight into a farm for use for your own energy. We do actually own Forest Green Rovers Football Club. In 2015, alongside a lot of other initiatives that we've done to make it a green football club, we made the club a vegan football club. This means that when we feed the players, when we feed all the supporters, fans, away fans as well, we feed them with a vegan diet. To start with, that was quite an unusual thing. When we first took over the club 8 years ago, some of the fans, die-hard fans, a 123-year-old club, weren't too impressed. But as things have developed, the food is phenomenal. You're all very welcome at any time to come. It is just great food. People really, really love it. Which has led us to now actually creating our own food factory. And we have a food factory that is producing Little Green Devils brand vegan balls and burgers, all allergen free, and it's going great guns. We're talking to so many school food providers now and caterers who are looking at introducing that into the September menus. So there's a lot of things happening, there's lots and lots of opportunity, and anything is possible.